Hello. So, how you all doing? So, let's see what we got going on here. All right. So, Stanford scientist, after decades of study, concludes we don't have free will. I agree. We do not have free will. After all, our brain is a biological computer. And all computers have certain programmings and within limits that they have to follow. So it might seem from our perspective that we have free will, but if you're doing what you desire to do, you think that you're freely choosing to do those things. And of course, with all computer systems, there are sometimes corrupted files that might lead to odd behaviors that might also seem that we have free will. But at the end of the day, our impulses and our desires are dictated by our biology. Of course, we can temporarily override our personal desires through our intelligence in order to do something. But at the end of the day, we always come back to what we truly want. So it's not free will, not free will at all. Let's see. Let's see. After studying humans and other primates for 40 years, Stanford neurobiologist Robert Sapolsky has concluded that many factors beyond our control influence our choices and behavior, leaving free will to be negligible in any context. I would agree, sir. Before epilepsy was understood to be a neurological condition, people believed it was caused by the moon. The moon? Did it only happen at night? Or by phlegm in the brain. They condemned seizures as evidence of witchcraft or demonic possessions. I mean, it could be. There's no way to disprove that, right? And killed or castrated sufferers to prevent them from passing tainted blood to a new generation. Bruh, yo, you have a seizure, they cut your dick off? You've lost your entire mind, man. They no way. That is an overreaction beyond anything possible. Like, what? Electroshock, go for it. Whatever you do. Burning at the stake, hey, it's a party. Castration? We overreacting now. It's gone too far. All right? Today, we know epilepsy is a disease. Well, no shit. It should be obvious that it was a disease. By and large, it's accepted that a person who causes a fatal traffic accident while in the grip of a seizure should not be charged with murder. So you're saying if I caused an accident, I could always claim. Can it be proven? That's good, says Stanford University neurobiologist Robert Sapolsky. That's progress, but there's still a long way to go. After more than 40 years studying humans and other primates, Sapolsky has reached the conclusion that virtually all human behavior is as far beyond our conscious control as the convulsions of a seizure, the division of cells, or the beating of our hearts. Yes, sir, I agree. This means accepting that a man who shoots into a crowd has no more control over his fate than the victims who happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm sorry, man. We might not have free will, but that doesn't free us from consequences. Huh? There's certain actions that are dissuaded through jail and death penalty. That should be a good influence. You might not have free will, but you're very well influenced to not take such actions. So, no, I'm not accepting that a man who shoots into a crowd has no more control over his fate. He has a little bit of control over his fate, It means treating drunk drivers who barrel into pedestrians just like drivers who suffer a sudden heart attack and veer out of lane. Okay, homie, you've lost the plot. A condition of consequence or prison or law breaking wasn't that people had the free will to choose to do those things. Is that the fact that people do them and we don't want that. The world is really screwed up and made much, much more unfair by the fact that we reward people and punish people for things they have no control over. That is a control element. Punishment and reward. Carrot and stick. That is an influence to get people to do certain actions. Hence why they have no free will. Because their actions are either influenced internally or externally. You, sir, have lost the plot. We've got no free will. Stop attributing stuff to us that isn't. Only it sounds like you're trying to get us all to drink some Kool-Aid and wear a bunch of red robes. What's going on with you? Sapolsky, a MacArthur Genius Grant winner, is extremely aware that this is an out there position. It certainly is. It's also an idiotic position. How did you become an awarded genius being that stupid? Most neuroscientists believe humans have at least some degree of free will. Not having free will and not being responsible for your actions are not mutually exclusive, right? For instance, a dog doesn't have free will, but if it bites somebody or a baby, guess what's happened to it? It gets put down. Ain't nobody going to say, well, the dog has no choice. It's not the dog's fault. Well, people are going to say that, but it's not going to stop it. Like, you ever heard of, what was it, Harambe? That gorilla, it wasn't his fault. But guess what? Regardless of bad parenting, that was outside of his control, he had to get put down. Most so do most philosophers and the vast majority of general population. Free will is essential to how we see ourselves, fueling the satisfaction of achievement or the shame of failing to do the right thing. Saying that people have no free will is a great way to start an argument. Is it? I'm not going to argue with you. This is partly why Sapolsky, who describes himself as majorly adverse to the interpersonal conflict, put off writing his new book, Determined: A Science of Life Without Free Will. Sapolsky, 66, has a mild demeanor and a Jerry Garcia beard. He should put that on his dating profile. For more than 3 decades, he escaped the politics of academia to study baboons in rural Kenya for a few months every year. Okay. You didn't get enough data in the couple of years that you've done it so far? I'm really using a lot of reallys, trying not to sound like a combative jerk in the book. He said, I deal with human complexities by going and living in a tent. So yeah, I'm not up for a lot of brawls about this. He deals with human complexities by going and living in a tent. Sounds to me, sir, that you might suffer from some form of autism, or you're on the spectrum at least, and interacting with humans might stress you out a little bit. Analyzing human behavior through the lens of any single discipline leaves room for the possibility that people choose their actions. Now, what people do have several options, right? In a video game, you have several options that you can choose from, but those actions have several predetermined consequences or results. So When confronted with options, you might say you are free to choose, but actuality, there's only a couple of options that are actually appealing to you. So most often you would choose those options. You might feel like you have free will because you have so many options and you're thinking about each option, but really you don't. Right? So that's why saying that people can choose does not conflict with them not having free will. Hence why people shooting into a crowd or drunk driving doesn't absolve them from being responsible for their own actions because they had options. Determined, which comes out today, blah, 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 bestseller, behavior biology. Okay. The book breaks down the neurochemical influences that contribute to human behaviors, analyzing the milliseconds to centuries preceding, say, the pulling of a trigger or the suggestive touch on an arm. All right. Determined goes a step further. If it's impossible for any single neuron or a single brain to act without influence from factors beyond its control, Sapolsky argues that they can be no longer room for free will. Many people with even a passing familiarity with human biology can comfortably agree with this up to a point. We know we make worse decisions when hungry, stressed, or scared. We know our physical makeup is influenced by the genes inherited from distant ancestors and by our mother's health during her pregnancy. Abundant evidence indicates that people who grow up in homes marked by chaos and deprivation will perceive the world differently and make different choices than people raised in safe, stable, resource-rich environments. A lot of important things are beyond our control, but like everything, we have no meaningful command over our choices of careers, romantic partners, or weekend plans. If you reach out right now and pick up a pen, wasn't even that significant an action, was even that insignificant action somehow preordained? No, but it's influenced by your desire to have a goddamn pen or write something. Like, what are you talking about? The universe doesn't have to determine something for it to be determined. For instance, the choice to eat food is predetermined by the fact that you are a living creature that needs food for energy. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you had the free will to choose to eat the food. You're programmed to eat food. So you have a desire that influences you to go eat that food. You have a job or you want to write something down or communicate in some form. As a human being, you're programmed in a way to communicate differently than other animals. So you have a desire and you see the pen, you have a desire to pick up the pen, you pick up the pen. It wasn't preordained, it was influenced. Yes, Sapolsky says both in the book and countless students who have asked the same questions during his office hours, what the student experiences as a decision to grab the pen is preceded by a jumble of competing impulses beyond his or her conscious control. True, maybe their peak is heightened because they skipped lunch. Maybe they're subconsciously triggered by a professor's resemblance to an irritating relative, or the pen could have just jogged a memory, which prompted a desire to interact with that memory by feeling the touch of said pen on your fingers. Then look at the forces that brought them to the professor's office, feeling empowered to challenge a point. They're more likely to have had parents who themselves were college educated, more likely to hail from an individualistic culture rather than a collective one. All of those influences subtly nudge behavior in predictable ways. You may have had an uncanny experience of talking about an upcoming camping trip with a friend only to find yourself served with ads for tents on social media later. Your phone didn't record your conversation, even if that's what. All right, I don't need all these examples. I get the point, sir. All of the friends primed to respond. God damn, he goes into way. This dude is long-winded as shit. I'm not buying this book, man. Man, gonna talk me to death. Anyways, until next time.